What's going on, everybody? This is Phil Wright, and you are listening to Phil Wright and Friends podcast, where we have positive conversations about life. Man, this is a special episode for me. It's hard to put this particular person in one box. I mean, besides the music, an amazing father, grandfather, friend. And that alone speaks for who he is. But you've seen him on the stage back in the day with John P. Key, Donald Lawrence, T.D. Jakes. He even used to shop at Satyar's back in Anderson, South Carolina. Y'all don't know about it. Only my Carolina people will catch it. I got Cedric. Yeah, that's it. Get 3 suits and the hat for $50.
Yes, sir.
We have Mr. Cedric Thompson with us today.
My brother. How's it going? Hey, man, I'm so honored to be here. Love you, man. And
yes,
and I'm honored that you asked me to be a part.
And I had to ask you to be a part. I'm watching from afar for years, and then on the bucket list of people I always said I wanted to work with Cedric Thompson. I said I didn't know how, but even a few years ago we did this thing called the Empowerment Tour, and it's funny that we're doing this because we actually recorded some episodes similar to this for the Empowerment Tour that we did a few years ago, and he's professional, just all around great guy. He knows his stuff. Part-time comedian. He's hilarious too, man.
No, that's you. That's you.
I found the video when we was at Al's house in that studio, and Sean was cracking on me, and the tongue of his shoes was hanging up. And I said, "What they saying?" You said, "Loose me," and we died. That was hilarious, man.
Great time.
Bigby, yeah. And he's the husband to the phenomenal LeJune Thompson, the father of he has 3 amazing sons, Chris, Chandler, and CJ. And CJ is a noted producer in himself, so he bears great fruit. There's so many places. It's funny interviewing you because I know you, but we had these conversations a lot. I feel like I interview you every time I talk to you. So let's start at the beginning. Many people don't know that. Tell us your beginning, like where you're from and how you got started as a musician.
Well, I'm from Anderson, South Carolina, so I started at 3. My grandmother at the time, she started me out. Of course I was too young, for anyone to actually take me on officially or formally. So she took me up until the point that I was of age, began training formally. So from that, I always say, that God tricked me. And the reason why I always say that, well, he didn't trick me, it was my journey, but, the reason why I do say that, though, is because I really wasn't necessarily just thinking about, gospel music. I was doing classical.
Wow.
And my brother and I, we used to sing. We were a duo group, and there were times where my cousin who played for us was a no-show. So...
There's a lot of that in Carolina, ain't it, man? Somebody supposed to play for you and they don't show up. Like that. Right.
So at that point, I was forced to learn the songs that we were doing. So that progressed in me, also, just learning, more gospel music, and then plus, I was always around it. Of course, my grandmother, she was a chapter rep in the GMWA, so she had us traveling and had us singing everywhere. And so I started playing for my church, Welfare Baptist Church, at the age of 12. And from there, helped form the gospel group at our high school at Hannah. And then I went from there, moved on to Charlotte after I graduated, went to Johnson C. Smith And from there is when I started playing with Pastor John P. Key. He wasn't a pastor then. And that's also where I met my wife. After being with him, we later got married, moved to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And we started a group called The Promise. That was I had done some recordings prior to, because actually my first recording, I was 15, with Barbara Robertson in Greenville, South Carolina. Okay. I think it was, I can't remember the name of the choir, but I can't remember the name of the choir. Okay. But so like I said, I had done some recordings, but my first national recording and my first major recording was with our group Promise.
What year did that record come out?
That was roughly, what was that? That was roughly, I want to say 98 or something like that. No. Yeah, it was roughly 98 or so.
80, was it 9? You said 98?
90, yeah.
Okay, 9. Okay. Okay. Wow, yeah. It seemed like I remember that. Was the cover like red or something? I'm trying to remember, because it seemed like I remember seeing that record or that record somewhere.
Yep. It was a red cover of us. I was on this couch.
I remember that. Yeah.
I was on this couch, and we had signed to Word Records, and that actually kind of led into me teaming with Donald Lawrence. Donald had called me. I had done this arrangement and wrote the song called Magnifying.
Okay.
And we recorded it on the Promise record, but I didn't think that the record was actually coming out because Word at the time was going through some personnel changes. So the album actually sat on the shelf for about a year, almost a year and a half or so, maybe a little longer actually. And like I said, so I didn't think that the album was coming out. So Women in Chester wanted to record Magnifying. They recorded it. Ironically, the week after they did their session, Donald called me, and he wanted to record the song. And I told him that Women in Chester had literally just recorded their live session doing the song. So he wanted me to come up with a song that was similar. So in lieu of that, I came up with the arrangement, Praise Him. And he was working on Rodney Posey's first live record. So they recorded that. He called me in afterwards. Me and LeJune went down, and from there, I started working with his production team, and it just kept moving from there.
So, that moment, from going to Johnson C. Smith, being from Anderson, going to Johnson C. Smith, and then starting to work with Pastor John P. Key, was it like you were doing road dates, or was it just like studio stuff, or had he, really got out there yet, or just was kind of in the beginning stages of his career?
So at this time, when I started with Pastor John P. Key, we were doing some road dates. He was on the hymn of one of his hits, "Jesus Lives in Me."
Jesus Lives in Me, yeah.
Yeah, and so that was the era that I started playing with him, and then afterwards, I started with Donald and Tri-City. That was shortly after their first record, Songwriter's Point of View.
Okay, so you didn't play on Songwriter's Point of View, or
I didn't. Okay. No, I wasn't for that first album.
Okay,
and so afterwards, I was there. It was Kevin Bunn and myself.
Dynamic duo.
Love playing with Kevin. And so I took the music director, him, responsibilities after Kevin left. Kevin later, went on to do more production, and then I think he went to New Birth.
Okay. So the division of labor, like, what was the process like when you're working with Donald? Because Bible Stories was probably your first record with Tri-City, right?
Right.
And that was a phenomenal record. Let's talk a little bit about the preparation. So was it like, he comes up with the song and then you guys just rehearse it, or what was I guess the division of labor for the process of presenting that record that we heard?
So with that particular record, Donald and Kevin was actually producing that record. And so I was pretty familiar even before going into recording that particular record. I was pretty familiar with the songs on that record because I was taking Lejeune down to the rehearsals in Spartanburg. So Donald, he was doing his vocal rehearsals in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So in being in those rehearsals, I was already familiar with the songs. So,
you were more so the hired gun side of it.
Right.
Okay.
And of course, Donald and Kevin, they had worked out, most of the arrangements and whatnot. So the things that I think it might have been one or two pieces that were not necessarily familiar. So I knew those pieces kind of like in rehearsals or whatnot when it got time to band rehearsals. So, but that was pretty much, that record was pretty much Donald and Kevin. But that whole process, of course, and even following that, would be, Donald would have the song ideas and whatnot. And used to be, he would come up, and we would work out in my spot. But then after our, relationship bond and the whole nine and the chemistry of it, he would just call me, and sing, the melody to the songs and whatnot. And then I would go work out the arrangement. And then from there, whenever it was time for us to record, I was sending whatever my arrangements were to the guys. And from there, we would do our rehearsals and start working on those arrangements.
So that particular record, that first, technically the second record for Tri-City, Bible Stories, it definitely shifted some things in gospel music. It brought a different perspective. Everybody was really heavy into the kente cloth, so image ended up being a thing. They were branded well.
Yeah.
Did you know that record would play such a huge part in shaping gospel music?
I did, and actually, I knew that. I actually knew that on the prior record, that I wasn't a part of a songwriter's point of view. Just more so, not necessarily from the point of the presentation of it, just more so sonically,
right?
And the elements of the record, because at that time the only ones that I had heard, even performing live with loops, drums, programmed drums or whatnot, were R&B artists. So I knew that that was going to be a staple, and a template, if you will, even from that record. So, but I didn't know that Bible Stories would necessarily have the impact, that it did, because like you said, following that record, you start seeing kente all over the country, and
everywhere. They'd have African Sunday. They start calling it African Sunday at a lot of churches.
That and then you start seeing more people, you start hearing more people performing with loops.
Yeah.
You know, in the whole nine. And then even with the way that people would orchestrate, their stage plots.
Yeah.
You know, you saw the impact of that even from Bible stories.
More mics on stage. It used to be like 3 little mics over there and recordings.
Exactly.
They were one of the first to have clear live recordings. And, you know, I'm grateful. Tri-City, Donald Lawrence and Tri-City definitely played a huge part in me personally, because I knew that I could work in this music industry because I seen people that I knew, like Michael Young and Eric Young.
Right.
I you know, they sung in a group like Commission with my dad. And when I looked on Bobby Jones and I seen y'all on Bobby Jones, I'm like, that's Michael's just here. And, and I always noticed just the way that Tri-City moved was totally different. I'm probably 7-8 years old. Tri-City came to Anderson. Were you with them that time when they came to Anderson? For, I think it was an MLK thing at the Civic Center. No, I don't know if you came with them that particular time. I know there was, who was this little kid following us around? Because I literally, every time they turn around, it's a weird little kid just standing and just seeing what they, you know. But but it's just the way that they moved. You all moved with a level of excellence, and it seemed like everybody genuinely loved each other. Like, that's one thing that I really seen, that I noticed.
We were definitely a family. Yeah, we really were. Yeah,
I noticed that as a kid, like, you know, just being around, they do concerts or shows and stuff. And if I was there, and I would see like everybody kind of come in and they were greeting each other. And I was like, man, this is, you know, it painted a dream for me. You know, I started a group. They definitely didn't get along like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I always look forward to traveling with Tri-City, you know, because, you know, like you said, you know, we were family, you know, and ironically, you know, most of them I even knew even before I started playing with them, because back in my days back home in Anderson, when they were formed, even before Donna officially took the group over, we would invite them over to our choir's anniversary. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes, you know, we would be on the same program or whatnot. So I would play with them, you know, off and on sometimes. So I already knew most of the nucleus of the group even before I started. So that made it even easier. Once I, you know, became a part of that family. But I always, you know, like I said, I always look forward to traveling and working with Donna in Tri-City, you know, because, you know, not just even it being family oriented, but, you know, like you said, everything was always presented in excellence, you know. Right. That was, you know, those my first time, you know, experiencing tour buses. That was going my next question. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to get into. You know, and so I mean, just from there, you know, from the first movement of the first day to the end of whatever that leg of that trip was, you know, I mean, it was nothing but excellence, you know. So
that's what I was going to. That was kind of leading to my next question. Of course, as a musician and a producer, you know, I know you have those lanes, but also when it comes to doing road stuff, was Tri-City probably the first touring artist that you actually, I mean, I know you did the John P. Key thing too, but like was Tri-City probably like the first consistent touring situation, or had you toured prior to that?
No, they were the first ones, you know, because like I said, you know, with my experiences with Pastor John Key, we weren't necessarily doing touring. We were doing dates, but my first experience in tours was with Tri-City.
Walk us through prepping for that. I've been in your rehearsals before, And I don't know if I'm pretty sure that's similar to how they were back in the 90s as well. Walk me through preparation. It's not what Bible Stories came out in 94, 95? Somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think like roughly around 95 or so.
Yeah, so around 95. So it's 1995. Getting ready to tour and travel with this gospel artist and everything like that. Walk us through the process of getting ready to do that.
Well, of course, prior to that, you have to have your preparation in terms of your rehearsals. You get all of those together, and you work out, all of the arrangements and the whole nine. And then with that, the things that are done behind the scenes in terms of, making sure that everything is going to be straight as it relates to your rider, that rider, for those that are not familiar with, rider just basically consists of, all of your requirements, in terms of your gear, the back line, accommodations, travel accommodations, lodging accommodations, all of that, whatever that is. And then from there, the road manager, just making sure that, the routes, all of that is situated, and even with the accommodations and the whole nine. So it's a lot, that it takes to get ready for a tour, even before you get on the road.
Right.
With the tour.
What's the longest you've been out on a tour?
The longest I've been out on a tour is roughly about 4 months or so on a tour. With that, what I try to do, so the one thing with that I had the advantage of traveling with Tri-City was that I was still kind of able to have my family with me. As it relates to my wife. But one of the challenging thing is just being able to, those tours that I was doing outside of Tri-City, was just being able to have that family time. Right. Right. So I would make sure, that I was able to either move my or fly my wife to where we were, when we could. But that's always been important to me, in terms of making sure, that we always, still had that time, even though I'm on the road, but touring can be rigorous, but if you're with the right team, and with the right people that doing it excellent, they can make it easy for you. Right. And if not, it can be hell on wheels too.
Hell on wheels. Man, I got so used to being away from home. When I came home for the first time in a few months, 3 days straight, said I woke up, jumped out my bed, went to my suitcase, like, oh shoot, I'm home. Oh shoot.
Yeah. I've had those. Yeah.
You ever had that happen? Like you be thinking,
yeah. I've had those, and then I've had moments where I woke up and didn't know exactly where I was at. Yeah.
Said it happened to me 3 days straight because I hadn't been home. And I wasn't used to the way my room was set up. So as soon as the sun came up, I woke up. I went because I ain't unpacked my bag all the way. I got my bag.
Yeah.
I'm home. Well,
You're at home. Yeah.
yeah. That's crazy. To kind of give an idea of range of different people, who are some of the people that you've toured with besides Tri-City or did spot dates?
Yeah. So I've toured with Sisters in the Spirit, and that particular tour, the artist that was on that tour was Mary, Yolanda Adams, Angela Christie, and Shirley Caesar.
Wow.
And had to, opportunity, to be able to travel with and I did a stint as the MD for a while with Rodney Posey.
Okay.
On the stage production, played with a good man that's hard to find.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was that actually I had to back up because that was actually my first experience before on the road with Tri-City.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so
was it like that movie? What movie was it? Was it the gospel? Well, not the gospel. The one that Tank is in. It's about a stage play. You seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
Man, it's hilarious. It ain't meant to be, but it's hilarious. It shows like the gospel plays. Ain't nobody in the play say, man, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And like the travel situations and the upright bus and
the crew. Now we're on upright bus with that play. Man, that was like in his heyday too. So it was.
Yeah, and then when you're in them uprights, you got to find that right position.
Ooh.
And if you miss it, you hit the wrong bump, it'll just take you right out of it.
Yeah. And then I also had the opportunity and for a couple of years touring with Stephanie Mills.
Wow.
Well, yeah. So just to name a few.
Yeah, that's just the touring situations. There's countless records. And one thing that I noticed, you said Sisters in the Spirit. You said Yolanda Adams, Mary, Angela, the saxophone player, and Shirley Caesar. That's 4 different lanes.
Yeah.
That's 4 different lanes, One thing that I like about you and that everybody can attest to is that you're not a one-trick pony. Like you can adapt to any situation musically. I mean, I feel like you could go on the road with 50 Cent tomorrow, like if you needed to. You wouldn't be out of your element. Talk a little bit about being able to adapt in different situations and different working environments.
Well, you have to, first of all, that comes along with you being able to respect who it is that you're working for, and regardless of who it is, because like you said, some environments are going to be different from others. Some may be a little more laid back, and then some environments, may be a little more street, if you will, but with that, you just need to learn and know how to keep your character, and then remain in your lane, and know what your purpose is, for that particular duty, and with that, stay out the way.
Stay out the way. Do what you got to do and stay out the way.
Do what you got to do and stay out the way, and you won't get caught up, and that's in any scenario.
I have to say that you definitely contribute something, have a huge part in the current sound of gospel as we know it now. You would never say that, but I can honestly say that because as I start thinking about the different records and projects that you've worked on, I mean, okay, from Pastor John B. Key to The Promised and Tri-City, from there, I mean, you probably didn't have time to do a lot of road stuff because you produced everybody. I mean, you've worked on with so many different records. So there was Tri-City, of course, and after you did the the Bible stories, what was the first record you were kind of in the driver's seat as far as having a say in production and everything that went on?
It was I would say probably the Promise record, probably the Promise record, and then following that was what was the first record? Probably. So I would say outside of that, I think probably one of my first records in terms of being able to help drive as well, outside of the stuff that I was doing with Donald, was the GMWA youth recording.
Okay.
And ironically, I was looking back on some, it popped up in my feed. I saw old footage of one of the rehearsals from that. And I remember seeing, I was MDing that particular project. And I remember seeing, as we know now, he's a super producer, Aaron Lewis.
Yeah,
he was a teenager then. Mm-hmm. That was probably one of the first as well. And then, like I said, probably Rodney Bryant,
okay, as
well, along with Donald,
okay,
and which was the He's a Keeper record.
Okay, Rodney Bryant, is that the one? I Love You So.
No. So the He's a Keeper record is the one that both Donald and I produced.
Oh, okay.
So that particular record that you're speaking of was the I think Rodney did another record, I think in between, and the record following was the one that I produced.
I heard that everywhere, and now the only way that I can now, after finding out that you did it, it made sense at the end, that little move you did at the end on the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, man, that is
now,
sad.
I'm gonna tell you that record. So initially, I wasn't supposed to produce that record. Kevin Bunn was actually slated to produce that record, and I was going to be doing support. Mm-hmm. In terms of keys and whatnot, but at the time his wife was pregnant, and it was a close window of her having the baby. So Kevin didn't want to be away, and then she goes into labor. So the record fell into my hands, and I was like, Cause that week was the first time I heard the songs, the week of the recording. And, so I remember even telling this story on the, empowerment.
Yeah.
With that particular song, Testimony, that you mentioned, I was, getting ready to go to, I was basically finishing the record pre-mix. I had about 2 or 3 days to go to mixing. I was going to Chicago to go mix the record. And Rodney called me and said, hey, Cedric, I want you to check out this song. And I'm like, man, we ain't got no time for that. So make a long story short, he kept calling. I was like, all right, send me the song. So now remember I said we had about 3 days, but back then, the internet wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah.
So back then we were still using FedEx.
Right.
So he FedExed it out to me, which means now I just have 2 days to put this song together. Mm-hmm. So I heard the song, hated the song. Hated the song. Didn't like it.
Hated it.
Hated it, man. And then plus, I was like, well, you all can't sing this song anyway, because this song is a personal testimony about someone who has cancer, and that's what they were singing about. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you all can't sing this song. And so I could tell, Rodney wanted to do the song. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do a verse. You get 2 or 3 people out of your choir to write a verse. We'll do it. You all meet me in Chicago on the first day of the mix. We'll record before we start mixing. And so I'm thinking it's just a filler. Mm-hmm. And it was the hit of the record,
That's crazy how that happens. I've heard multiple producers say we were done with the record and this song comes and then that song ends up being the crazy hit. The song you did, Never Seen the Righteous. You did Never See the Righteous, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, one thing that you're known for, of course, is intros. How did that song even come together? Because in my mind, I'm trying to... How did that come?
So ironically, we were in rehearsal for that was TriCity4.com. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were in rehearsals. Donald, if I remember correctly, I don't think I had heard the song just yet. And but Donald was getting ready to present it to the group. And so at the time when he was teaching it to the group, I was trying to come up with what I could hear.
Right.
And so after coming up with the arrangement and whatnot, Donald actually said, Cedric, he didn't want the intro that I was doing. Mm-hmm. So he said, if you can come up with another intro. So I remember I was on a work list in rehearsal. Mm-hmm. And the word lister is actually what inspired me to come up with that intro because of the sound of the word lister, so I wanted to hear it singing on top, so that's how I came up with that particular intro.
Wow. What's, for those who don't know, some of the other songs that you actually were in the driver's seat with Tri-City, what are some of those songs as well?
It was also When the Saints.
That dumped everybody every night at the Empowerment Tour, by the way.
Man, to this day, we can't do that song.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so, I mean, I have some, I think I told Donald this too. I was like, man, that's one of them toilet songs,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he wrote that now.
Oh, man.
And so that was on there. God's Favor, I'm Saved. That was on that particular. So
was that LaShawn Pace? Oh, who was
so LaShawn did it on the finale.
On the finale, yeah.
Robin Rowe did the original.
Wow, yeah.
Some
of the other projects, I think you guys did Mena Standards' first record.
We did.
And that right there to me was kind of like the return of Commission.
Oh, wow.
A different flavor, because it was like, when Fred left I still listen to their records after he left Commission, but it was like, man, to hear Lowell and Isaac and these guys, and they were amazing. That record was phenomenal. Did you guys do the entire record, or?
We did, with the exception of 1 or 2 songs. They did, I want to say it was 2 songs. I definitely know it was 1 song. I think it was 2 songs, but they did with ASAP.
Okay.
And at the time, ASAP, Alex Ward, he was up and coming producer as well. So, and ironically, that was also their first time singing together.
That's what I heard. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep, it was their first time singing together. And
how did those sessions go?
Actually, I mean, they were great, because, Donald always have a knack for vocals,
Yes.
and knowing how to put vocals together. And but with that record, the way that we had them actually recording, nowadays, you may do a group pass, or two, and then everybody sing their individual parts. Mm-hmm. But they did the whole record. We had them, around one mic, and we had them stacking
each part. They sang each part together.
No, they sang their own parts together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't them, doing the top, middle, bottom part. They all just sang as a group around the mic, and a couple of passes of that, and that's how that record was done.
So, what was the song? Because we did one of those on the Empowerment tour as well. Which one was it? Anointed.
Anointed, yeah, on its own. Yeah, that was a moment, man. Because we were in, we did it in Charlotte, mm-hmm. And so I did it at the piano. When Donald sang the song to me, and so I put it together on piano as it relates to the music side of it. And I got the guys in there, and that was one take. We did it together. I'm playing it, they're singing it at the same time. And
yeah, because you couldn't do that. So it was a moment. So it was what we call a moment.
It was organic.
Man, it was organic. That thing was crazy.
And I remember even doing that song. Because at the time, so they were on Malaco Records.
Yeah.
And Talisa Stinson, she was at Malaco, and she was the president, and she was at the sessions. And I remember we were doing that song, and at the end of it, she ran out into the parking lot in tears. And like and I remember even listening to the playback. After we recorded it, I had chills, and that was
at the end of it. The Lord, we need, yeah. That thing, man, that thing dumped me as a kid. I was like, good God Almighty. But that's the power of great songs, because it's like for me, I think that record came out in 96 or so. Mm-hmm. 96, 97, something like that. And these songs were the foundation of our childhood, songs that we just heard our parents play. Who knew that those same songs would eventually get us through rough times?
Exactly.
And it was a few joints. Did you do the one when they covered the Whining song, or was that Asaph, Trust in God?
Yeah, I did that. A lot of people thought that was a guitar, but that was me that was me doing acoustic guitar on keys.
Yeah, you were one of the first people that I really heard doing that on songs, and it actually sounded good, man.
Yeah. And I guess my approach to that was I tried to approach it as a guitar player. Of course, I don't play guitar, but just in listening,
guitar players. I remember a rehearsal that you got one. That was hilarious. Guitar, man.
Yeah. So I've always tried to approach it as such, and then the patch that I had, it sounded so close to a acoustic guitar.
Because it had the slide too, didn't it?
I was gonna say you could hear the frets on it.
Yeah.
And that was I pulled it out the other day. It was a patch on my ASR 10. And like I said, the thing that I loved about that patch, man, like I said, you could hear the fret noise, with the string and everything on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how long did it take you guys to record that particular record?
A week. Yep. Sure did. Yeah, we did that record in a week. Yep.
Man. What about the Andre Crouch cover? Did y'all do that one? You ain't gotta jump no pew.
Yeah.
But
sure did.
That's see, it's crazy because me and you both know we've never talked about this record, and I'm picking up. I started picking up your style. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Yeah, man.
Funny thing about that was, so I think one of our connections as it relates to my musical marriage with Donald was that we a lot of the people that Donald grew up listening to and if you will, quote unquote, the school that we kind of came from, we listened to the same people. So Donald loved Andre Crouch. I was a big Andre Crouch fan. Donald loved the Clark Sisters. I was a big Clark Sisters fan. Donald loved the Hawkins. I was big Hawkins fans. And Thomas Whitfield. And Thomas Whitfield, everybody knows Thomas Whitfield. That was my guy.
Right. You actually got a chance to meet him, right?
I did. And if we have time, I'll tell you.
I remember you can tell the story. I remember.
Yeah. So we, LeJune and I.
Hey. Don't you go anywhere. This is Phil Wright and Friends podcast. I know it was just getting good. He was about to tell us this phenomenal story about the legendary Thomas Whitfield. That's right. Thomas Whitfield. I hate to cut it off there, but this is only part one. Next week, join us for part two. It's going to be amazing. For any of you who have questions and show ideas, you can email us at philwrightfriends@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Phil Wright Podcast, my personal page, P Wright Music, and of course my food page, Phil Meal. And if you like live music, you want to make sure that you tune into Cafe Joel Music on Instagram as well. Look, next week, you do not want to miss part two of this amazing interview with Cedric Thompson. He's going to talk about his son, CJ Thompson, and some of the up and coming producers and people that he's worked with and working with. And yeah, you don't want to miss part two. So make sure you tune in and tell somebody to listen and check out Phil Wright and Friends podcast.